So I had a fun emotional experience that I want to tell the story, and it's about, well, feeling feelings, and specifically almost seeking them out, welcoming them. And in this case, I'm talking about fear. Now, I've been listening to a lot of videos by Joe Hudson and his podcast, The Art of Accomplishment, and it's just been really great. It's so valuable. He talks about like specifically loving fear and how it's such a valuable tool, an indicator. So, give a little backstory here. I've been going to this thing called ecstatic dance, and if you're not familiar, it's a type of dance where it's this public gathering. There's music, a dance. I don't know why I felt the need to define what a dance was, but it's a type of dance where how you dance is just totally up in the air. There's no theme to it except that this is an environment where you can move your body however you think it needs to be moved, and so it's a very inclusive environment. It doesn't have to look good at all. So I've been going to that, and it's fantastic. It's a wonderful little sandbox for me to just try things out and see how my emotional work frees up my movement, because that was always just a real big hang up and just such an obvious way where I was blocked emotionally. Like I just would not let myself dance. It felt awful. The hardest thing in the world for me. So I've been practicing that, and I've been like using marijuana to help free up my movement. And go into ecstatic dance. It's tons of fun. Each time I reach, new levels of movement freedom and the emotional freedom that comes with it. I mean, if that sounds weird, just, I don't know, try it. Go to an ecstatic dance and see, can you let yourself be weird? Could you let yourself be really powerful? That's something I try and play with, because I have a lot of insecurity around things like being very masculine and powerful and taking that seriously. That is very hard. So trying to move in that way is very difficult for me psychologically. Or it could be try moving, overtly sexually. If you're really self-conscious, that would be really hard. So I play with just all of these little challenges at ecstatic dance, and it's so fun. Anyway, this one particular night, my son wanted to come with me. He's like 3.5. And at first I was a little disappointed, because this is my me time, and I really want to go there and I smoke a joint and just have an amazing night dancing. And I know from experience, if he comes with me, it's probably going to end really early. Like the time before that he had come, he wanted to go home after 15 minutes. And, totally reasonable on his end, but kind of a disappointment on my end. And so this time he said he wanted to go, and I was like, okay. And I kind of tried to get in the mood for it. It's okay. It's not going to be a just me thing. It's going to be, me and my son thing, and try and rewire my brain for that. And on the way there, I realized, no, actually, I do want him to be there. Like I can look forward to that. And we go in, and it was kind of the same as the time before, where after about 15, 20 minutes, he was basically done. Well, I ended up holding him, and I'm just dancing with him. And, this was kind of early evening, and he ended up just falling asleep in my arms. And, there's loud music and a lot of movement, obviously, but he's out. And I don't know what to do. I'm sort of like, crap, I guess I'm going to go home now. And I pack up my stuff. I'm carrying this 3.5-year-old, and I, grab all my things, and I'm walking out, and I take a few steps outside, and he wakes up, and he's like, "What are you doing? I want to go back." I was like, "Really?" Like, "Yeah, let's go back." It's like, all right. And so bring my things back in and go back onto the dance floor with him, and he goes back to sleep. And I just, kind of enjoy myself for a while, but I'm also getting a little self-conscious, where I think maybe some of the other dancers think that, I don't know, I'm just kind of weird that I'm forcing my child to stay at this dance when he's clearly tired, you know? And so I danced for, I don't know, maybe half an hour. It's good, and I'm getting into it and stuff. I'm finding ways of dancing while holding him, you know, and I keep moving him into different positions and trying to figure out how I can get in the zone, you know, in this new context. And I finally decide to try and leave again, because it's been a while, and I don't know, it seemed like I should leave for some reason. I tried leaving again, and the same thing happened. He woke up after I got outside and started to like cry. It was like, go back, go back. And so I went back in, and it was like, all right, I'm committed. I'm just gonna stay the rest of the dance. You know, there's like an hour and a half left or something. And I just danced with him. And it was amazing. There was a lot about the dancing that was really great, but that's not why I'm telling this story. I was in one of the positions that I was holding him. He was like, it was like a classic baby, you know, hold. His face was right here, and I was kind of spinning around slowly with him and watching the light change over his face as I just spin around in a circle. Because they had, you know, these kind of colorful lights and stuff set up. And I felt so moved by his beauty, by his just absolutely, you know, pure face as he laid there in my arms sleeping. And he was so beautiful, and I'm in this context, I'm at ecstatic dance. The point is to feel ecstasy, like to let yourself go so far that you can just bliss out and release all of your hang-ups and just feel love, right? Like, that's the point of the dance. But it's still hard. Like, it's still hard to like feel that kind of emotion for me in public, or anywhere for that matter. But I feel this emotion coming. And since I'm there partly as a mode of, or a method of self-development, like I know this is exactly what I want to work on. Like, can I let this emotion out in public at this dance? So I kind of, you know, challenge myself, like, okay, I'll let it out. And I start to let it out, and it comes out as crying. And so here I am looking at my son, and I'm crying, but I'm holding back. I'm still like trying not to while also trying to. And I'm caught off guard because I'm crying in this sad way. It's a sad cry, like something is wrong. And that totally throws me off, and my conscious brain kind of kicks in. I'm like, why am I doing a sad cry when I'm looking at, you know, my beautiful child? Like, why is that making me sad? Shouldn't that be a joyful cry or just something else other than sad? And so I'm, you know, kind of feeling the emotion, letting that happen, letting it go through me, but also kind of wondering about it. I was like, that's weird. Why am I sad? And then also being a little bit self-conscious and just kind of, you know, my mind is doing what it does. It's analyzing everything. And, well, I then remember something that Joe Hudson had said about emotions in general, that it's the resistance to them that makes them uncomfortable, that makes them unpleasant or painful or scary or anything like that. That it's when you're fighting an emotion, then it distorts it and it gets screwy. And so, you know, he reminds you to welcome it, to let it out. Don't, you know, just let it out. And that's what I was doing when I was crying there. You know, I've got my son here, I'm crying. It was sort of like, I was like crying it and it kind of sputtering, and, you know, I was clearly constricted. And so I thought of that thing that Joe Hudson said about, you know, what would happen if you just let it out. And so I just kind of relaxed. Most of the tension that I had was in my face. I just kind of relaxed my face and I let it out without any sort of, you know, muscular tempering. I didn't resist it. I didn't hold it back. It's like instead of hanging on to, you know, a tug of war rope, I just kind of let it go and I let it out. And it came out as laughter. It came out. I laughed. That's what it was. It was laughter and joy was hiding in there, and it was trying to get out. And the resisting of it made it feel like I should be ashamed of something, or I had done something wrong, and I was crying. Now, I'm not saying crying is bad. That's not my point. I'm saying, though, in that moment, the cry that I had felt like a sad cry, like something was wrong. And when I stopped resisting the feeling and just let it out without the filter, it turns out it was actually laughter and joy. That was the emotion trying to get out in response to me seeing this fucking gorgeous specimen of a human being in my arms. It's just like, oh my God. And so I got to laugh and feel this joyous love in that moment. And I mean, that's what ecstatic dance is all about. And I got it by having my son come along with me and fall asleep in my arms and me dancing with him for like total, I don't know, 2.5 hours or something. And I got to feel it. And the crazy thing here is that my fear actually led me to that experience of love. Like the fear was marking the spot. It was like it was like a pin on the map saying, it's right here. And, I first kind of faced the fear of letting out any emotion, and I let it out and it was crying. And then I faced the much greater fear. I don't actually think I mentioned that when I told it originally that there was a huge amount of resistance to letting that emotion out without the filter. Like I had to work on that in the moment. I had to gear myself up for this release, which is weird because it's a non-effort. All you have to do is relax and let it happen. And it did though, but it was a lot of fear telling me right where the good stuff was. I mean, a few things on that. It's wild to me that's a way that it ended up. And I think it's a not uncommon way where for whatever reasons, we learn that love is something that is dangerous and that we should stay away from. That's what it is. And so there's that fear there saying, oh, if you go here, bad things are going to happen. If you let love in, something bad is going to happen. So don't go there. But now I get to look at fear as, oh, it's actually just like I got my wires crossed, and maybe it's excitement about something that is really good for me. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about physical in the moment fear, like you've got a robber in your face and whatever, like none of that. It's about the fear that you have in non-physical risk kind of situations. Public speaking, dancing, whatever. But man, it showed me in that moment where to go. And I was fortunate enough to have all of the things in place in that moment to allow me to go there. Because in most moments, I will give in to the fear and I won't go there. But this was just the right combination of having, I had marijuana. I'd been dancing for a while, so I was open already, just kind of ready, ripe for the picking, you might say. And I had my child here who had just, magically fallen asleep on me and been asleep for, I don't know how long at that point, an hour or something. I had all the ingredients that allowed me to really feel some love and also to be consciously aware of this kind of wild ride that my psyche put me on to get there. That it took some effort. But it's just so wild that all I had to do was relax Like literally relax, not the like telling somebody to relax, but like literally let go of the tension in my face and neck, and the crying turned into laughter. It's wild. Again, I don't want to say that all crying should do that. Just in this moment, for me, it did. And that's just such a wild thing. And I'm looking forward now to getting more opportunities where I get to test that out. Just with different emotions and different contexts, test it out. What happens if I let this out without a bunch of judgment, without, tempering it? Just what happens if I let it out? So, all right, that was my fun story about love and fear and letting it go. Okay, well, more stuff like this to come. Thank you, and I'll see you later.